In many ways, today's church might be characterized as suffering, if you will, from spiritual amnesia. Do we know who we are, and do we know why we're here? That's going to be the focus of this time as we focus first upon the Great Commandment. Is it possible that the Great Commandment really gives us our identity? Who we are as a people is a people who love God with all of our heart, mind, soul, and strength, and love neighbors as we love ourselves. Maybe we've strayed from that identity. And our mission, why are we here? Maybe it's important to think about the Great Commission, that we're here to make disciples of all nations, teaching them to observe all that Christ has commanded. And so during this particular course, we're going to focus on that theme of how to maybe at times recapture who we are and why we're here. In this first lesson, we're going to paint a picture really of what Great Commandment love, empowering Great Commission living really looks like. So let's start, if you will, with kind of an image of a concentric circle. On the inner core of this circle is the focus on loving God with all of our heart, mind, soul, and strength. That's where missional church starts, equipping people how to love God with all our heart, mind, soul, and strength. The second, if you will, concentric circle focuses on loving neighbors. The Greek word there, neighbor, is really near one. So we like to say, for instance, if you're married, then it has to do with loving spouse. If you've got children, next circle, close friends, we are loving near ones. The Bible talks a lot about, in the next circle, if you will, of love within the household of faith, within the body of Christ. And then maybe an outer circle that is focused on love on mission to those who don't know Jesus. This is where it intersects with the Great Commission. So imagine if we're to love neighbors and my neighbor does not know Jesus, then to love them is to share the good news of the gospel. And so imagine that picture and then begin to focus in this first lesson on the critical issue of loving God with all of your heart, mind, soul, and strength.
Hey, Lori here. You're watching content provided by DOE1. Whether you're at the beginning of your ministry or seasoned, DOE1 is the premier location for all things ministry. Check us out at doe1.org. Now let's get back to your video.
What a wake-up call it is that sometimes we still struggle to know, how is it that you really love God? You know, probably 10 or 12 years into ministry, there was kind of a wake-up call in my own life when I had to be challenged with the thought, David, how do you really love me? How do you really love me? As I look back on it now, I'm convinced that my false concept was, well, I guess you love God by doing things for God. In this lesson, maybe we need to dispel that myth. It's as if in that time the Lord said to me, now, David, if I need stuff done, I'd get angels to do it, and they don't complain. David, the way you love me is not by doing things for me. The way you love me is to relate to me intimately, lovingly, with all of your heart, mind, soul, and strength. As I really sought the Lord about that, I remember coming to a passage in Acts chapter 13, verse 2, where it says of the saints at Antioch, they were ministering unto the Lord. They were worshiping, other translations say. And God began to say, David, one of the ways that you love me is you worship me. You enter into thanksgiving with a glad heart. And that passage goes on to say they were ministering to the Lord and the Spirit spoke unto them. They must have been listening to the Lord. They must have been listening to the Lord, making a priority of listening to the Lord. David, one of the ways you love me with all of your heart, mind, soul, and strength is to show up with a glad heart and then at other times be still, listen, know that I'm God. The passage goes on to say, they were ministering unto the Lord. The Spirit said unto them, put your hands now on these two, Saul and Barnabas, for the work that I have called them to do. And they went and did it. Maybe a third way we love the Lord with all of our heart, mind, soul, and strength is to yield to what He tells us to do. So it's not about doing things for Him. It's about showing up with a glad heart, listening to Him, and yielding to what He says. Maybe a closing set of images would be these. Think with me about the one leper who shows up to give Him thanks. Think about Mary of Bethany, to whom He says, Mary has chosen the better thing because she sits at His feet listening to Jesus. Or Mary, the mother of Jesus. When we hear in the Magnificat of Mary, be it done unto me according to thy word. She yielded to what God said. And so as we begin this series together in missional church, let's put a priority upon showing up with a glad heart, listening to Him, and yielding to what He says.
Hey, Lori here. If you like what you were watching, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and click on the bell to receive notifications when new content goes live. You can find content like this on DOE1, the premier location for all things ministry. See you on the next video.